Well, what a beautiful song to begin today's farewell, and no surprises that every seat is full here this afternoon, testament to just how loved and respected Elvie was, so welcome. Could I remind you, if you haven't already done so, to switch off your phones or pop them onto silent, that would be much appreciated. Well, good afternoon everyone and welcome, and thank you for being here today. I know that Elvie's family greatly appreciates the friendship, the love and the support that surrounds them here at this sad time. My name is Gina Breakey and it is an honour to have been invited to lead today's farewell. It is my hope that every part of this service will honour Elvie in a meaningful way and truly reflect on the many things that make her special and unique. Well, it is with sadness that we are gathered here this afternoon, but it is with grateful hearts we celebrate the life of Elvie Williams, a loved mother and mother-in-law, a very proud grandmother and great-grandmother, and a respected and cherished friend. Today, memories will be shared and you will all feel a sadness that Elvie is no longer a physical presence in your lives. However, in spending this time together comes the warmth of a life lived and a love and many friendships shared, and memories that will live on long after we say farewell. Today, we will give thanks for Elvie's life and we will honour her memory with this dedicated moment of warmth and much affection. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging those who were most special in Elvie's life. She was the loved mother and mother-in-law of Julie, Gay, Christine, Debbie and Janine and their partners. She was a very proud grandmother of 16 and a great-grandmother of many. Elvie was also a respected friend, which is obvious by today's attendance. As each of you take this time to remember her in your own special way, may you be warmly reminded of how much she has meant to so many. Well, summing up a person's life is a difficult thing to do, for no eulogy or story or tribute can ever truly capture a journey. No matter how well each of you may have known Elvie, our words today will never truly do her justice. Each of you here have shared different experiences with her. Each of you have known Elvie in different ways, and there are many things you have in common. At one time or another, your lives have been touched by her care and generosity, her selfless and determined nature, and the love she had for her family and those closest to her. I'm sure there are many here who have worn, owned or admired Elvie's many amazing garments. Her passion and expertise with sewing was widely appreciated by many, and a big part of today is acknowledging what an important part sewing and dressmaking played in Elvie's life. Today is a lovely way to remember these special things about her, and it is a chance to honour Elvie's life, one full of happiness, friendships and love. At 91 years of age, Elvie has lived a fulfilling life, and knowing that she is reunited with her beloved Bluey, I hope will give you all comfort. By honouring her memory here this afternoon, we are affirming all that was meaningful in her life, and in this final moment, we are allowing her to leave us as we prepare to say farewell. Elvie was the sort of person who never wanted or needed a lot of fuss made of her. We know that she would want you all to remember the happy times. She wouldn't want you to be sad or morbid. So today will be a simple and heartfelt celebration of her life. So in preparing for our service this afternoon, I recently met with Gay, Christine and Janine, and they shared with me a little about their mum and what she has meant to you all. There was so much to share, and amidst some tears, there were also smiles and laughter when remembering how special their mum was. Elvie devoted her life to her family. Bluey and her girls gave her so much joy, and when she became a grandmother, she was the proudest nan ever. Christine mentioned that her mum had a sign at home that said, "If I had known grandkids would be so much fun, I would have had them first." She loved spending time with them all, and they all loved being with her. Elvie's girls remembered nothing was ever too much trouble for their mum. She was a mum to many, and her door was always open to anyone who needed a bed, a meal, or just some company. Elvie was a caring and compassionate woman. She was resilient. Nothing much ever got her down, and she thrived on caring for others. I think it's safe to say that everyone who knew Elvie really loved her. Well, Elvie will be remembered for so many reasons, and it will be hard to capture everything today, but I would now like to invite her very proud daughter Janine. She's looking a bit nervous, but she'll be fine. She's pieced together a beautiful tribute to her mum, and she'd like to come forward and share it with us all. Thanks, Janine. It's always
Thank you.
Can you go and hear me there? My mum didn't like big crowds. She didn't like having a photo taken. And she definitely didn't like to be the centre of attention. We're all going to be in big, big trouble. Big deep breath. Elvie Margaret Cooper was born on 27th September 1930, the third of 4 daughters to Thomas and Lottie. Elvie's father was a carpenter with the railways department, and she grew up in Auburn, the cobblestone suburb of Hawthorn, with her sisters Joan, Norma and Barbara. An aunt and uncle lived next door in Boulder Street, the 2 homes separated only by a wall. This was the home of her auntie Alice Cooper, notably sharing her name with the infamous rock star. Mum would talk about that later on. At the age of 16, Elvie began her apprenticeship at the prestigious Frankie Stewart Bridalwear in Glenferrie Road, Hawthorn, the beginning of a career and passion for dressmaking which would last a lifetime. Mr and Mrs Frankie set a very high standard. They had a reputation to withhold in the city of Melbourne and would accept nothing but the best workmanship. A letter from the business which Mum had kept states, "You are not just machinists or finishers, but dressmakers, and high-class ones at that." Elvie learned from the best, was diligent and became one of their most loved and esteemed employees, noted for the speed at which she worked. The factory had many social events, picnics and balls, an opportunity to dress up in their beautiful gowns. Along with those beautiful works of art, friendships amongst workmates grew, and one of those was with Nancy Peck, who went on to become Mum's bridesmaid and lifelong friend. A few years later, Elvie was introduced to a young redhead bloke from the bush. Bluey and his father had a log truck and were contracted to cart logs out of the New G area. Bluey would make the long trips to the Big Smoke on his motorbike to court Mum, and she would later tell the story of one of his early visits to the family home. Elvie's mum asked Bluey if he liked tripe. Dad, trying to impress the potential in-laws, apparently replied that it was his favourite. Unfortunately for Blue, can you hear me? Unfortunately for Blue, dear old Nana Cooper then cooked tripe regularly when he came to visit. Have we got sound? How are we going now?
Yeah.
How are we going now? How are we going now?
No.
Broken.
Pause.
Broken.
Well, it's flashing, so I'm not sure what that means. It's the golf club's microphone, so I'm not sure.
How are we going now?
She didn't want us to talk about it.
Yeah, Chris said she didn't want us to talk about it. Shall I wait?
Yes.
Shall I go on?
Dad got the tripe, we got the rabbit stew.
How are we going now? No.
Sing for us that one way.
Never anticipated this.
Come on, we can all hear you from a mile away anyway.
Best laid, please.
Oh no, you're doing really well, mate. So what I'll do is I'll just distract by pressing buttons for a couple of minutes. Yeah, that's good. That's good. We'll, hang on. Stop flashing. Done.
No, I don't think so.
No, it stopped, Ken. Wait. I had it there.
If they think I'm on the payroll, no one else is going to try. Okay, I think we've got sound now.
Game on.
Thanks,
No,
Craig.
it's off.
No, we haven't.
It's flat battery.
the golf club mic. Now, I've got 10 minutes in me. Is that, have we got 10 now? Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. Elvie's father wouldn't allow them to be married until she reached the age of 21, so Bluey continued to make the long journeys to Hawthorn on his motorbike. They were eventually married on 23rd of February 1952 at Camberwell Baptist Church. It was only whilst making wedding arrangements that Elvie learned of Bluey's real name, Vern. Following their marriage and honeymoon in the log truck, Bluey took Elvie back to his hometown of Hill End. The little township of Hill End was 16 miles from Moe, a farming district with only a service station, a general store cum post office, church and a primary school. Must have been a bit of a shock for Elvie. Mum and Dad happily started their married life in their new home, albeit not fully completed. Soon thereafter, their first daughter Julie was born in 1953, followed within the next 5 years by Gay, Christine and then Debbie. 6 years later, the surprise baby arrived. Yours truly. Even up until a few years ago, Mum would introduce me to the staff at the nursing home as the baby. While Dad continued to work in the bush, Mum was of course kept busy raising 5 little girls. For the first 7 years of her married life, she didn't even have a driver's licence. When she finally did go for a licence, the police officer asked some safety questions, including, "What do you do if someone toots their horn at you?" Mum replied, "You toot back and wave." The police officer conceded, "Well, I suppose that is what you do when you live in a place like Hill End." Memories of growing up, including Mum and Dad carrying mattresses out to the backyard for sleeping on hot summer nights, swimming in the concrete water tank, and the nearby Willow Grove dances, a big social event in the community. We would have to wait for Dad to get home from the bush to go swimming. We'd pile the whole family into Mum's Ford Fairlane and venture down the road a bit to the Blue Rock to swim and wash in the Tangel River. A cake of soap was included, taking the opportunity to save some of the precious tank water we relied on at home. Mum never swam. For as long as I can remember, her bathers were always in the wash. When the long days stranded with 5 children tested Mum's patience, she would retreat to the wood heap and chop and chop and chop firewood to let off steam. Mum was always a bit of a trickster. She told us of the games she played as a young girl, whereby a handbag was placed on the road with a string attached, whilst they hid in the bushes and pulled it in out of sight as soon as a car pulled over to investigate. My sisters remember Mum pulling over to pick up a hitchhiker and then speeding off just as they were about to get in the car. She was, of course, heavily involved in the Little Hill End Primary School and cooked and sewed for fetes and functions. Her toffees and coconut ice were a favourite. She drove to Moe or Morwell once a week to shop and would also always have her hair set on a Friday. They lived a simple but hard-working life. Dad always called her Blossom. Photos remind me of family holidays spent at Tidal River, Cowes and Eden, but mostly Lakes Entrance. In the early years it was tents at Widers Camp Park, then just over the back fence in a holiday home on Coates Road for many years. Dad would spend the holiday fishing and Mum bought a new jigsaw puzzle each holiday as she'd forgotten to pack one. We have lots in storage. In 1972, Dad was offered work north of Orbost in the Errinundra Plateau region. It was a wonderful opportunity and there was good money to be made for a good faller. But best of all, it prompted them, after years of holidaying here, to finally move. They purchased a big family home in Broome Street for $16,000. The move was made and Mum's big family car was traded in on a small one and a boat. Dad worked away and would return home on the weekends. They were living the dream for a few years, until tragically in 1975, Dad was killed in an accident, leaving Elvie widowed at the age of 43. She was heartbroken. My older sisters, having married and or moved out within a couple of years of moving to Lakes Entrance, suddenly the big house was home to only Mum and I, aged 11. We formed a special bond in the years that followed, played a lot of games and ate a lot of chocolate together. Elvie never had been much of a social butterfly, preferring to be home to care for her family and Dad, given that he was working away during the week. Within the first year after Dad passed away, A workmate of his from Orbost asked if his son might put a caravan in the backyard, as he'd obtained a job in the State Savings Bank in Lakes Entrance. Mum said that as he would need to use the bathroom etc. in the house, he might as well board with us. Soon after that, the bank rang again and inquired, "I understand you take in boarders." And so it began. It gave Mum someone else to care for and cook for. It brought life into the house again and gave Mum and I company and friendship of some terrific young people and their mates. They called her Mrs. Hamsey or Mrs. W, but they thought of her as their second mum. Some fun times and late nights were had. Everyone felt at home and loved to hang out there. Mum would say they kept her young. She stayed up late sewing and cooking, waiting for the youngies to return from the club hotel. Vanilla slices and sausage rolls were popular, as were her neenish tarts and mouse traps. And I even recall a cake fight, but by far her specialty was lamingtons. Most people here would be aware of Mum's lamingtons. Replacing squares of delicate sponge with foam rubber before covering them in chocolate icing and coconut for unsuspecting victims. Boy, did we get some laugh from those lamingtons. If I see a lamington here this afternoon... Mum had always continued to sew. In fact, after Dad's passing, she took on more sewing, as she had more time and it gave her a bit of an income. Had she charged by the hour, she would have been a wealthy woman. She loved her craft and had a real knack for it. She was a perfectionist. She sewed dresses, Deb dresses, wedding dresses, bridesmaids, flower girls, matching bow ties and cummerbunds for the men, dress-up costumes, ballet outfits for Christine and I as children. Not recently. Kamal, Elvis and Dolly Parton costumes for local performer John Cousins, and Father Christmas outfits for the carnival several Christmases as a last-minute rush job request from Des Weddingslow. For many years she dressed and donated a large bride doll annually to be raffled for the geriatric centre at Bairnsdale. In later years we even had her own label made up. Patterns weren't required. She could draft something up from a sketch or a picture. I was blessed. On several occasions I would be invited out and Mum would try to describe to me a dress she might make me, but I could never envisage them. I'd go off horse riding or something and come home and she'd have run me up a beautiful outfit from something she'd found left over in the sewing room, which usually fitted apart from some final tweaking. Most of my sisters learned to sew. Sadly, I didn't inherit that talent. It was nothing for Mum to have 3 weddings on the go at once. She always noted how much time guests spent looking at the back of a wedding dress, so often suggested buttons and loops as a feature down the back, as opposed to an ordinary zip. It was almost her trademark. She spent hours covering those buttons from the same fabric as the dress, cutting and stitching lace motifs and sequins. Chris remembered a story that when the Queen visited Melbourne in 1970, Mum made a gown for Mrs. Moritz, who was the publican of the Walhalla Hotel, so that she might wear it to the Queen's ball. She kept a sample of that very expensive gold lame fabric as a memento, but all her customers were just as special to her and all received the same royal treatment. Regularly leaving it till the last minute to complete, I often wondered if brides worried that their outfit may not be ready in time, but she never let anyone down. Mum never drank, but I do recall she had a decorative bottle in the corner of the lounge room. It was about 1 metre tall and shaped like a snake. It was filled with some mysterious alcoholic concoction called Chianti. No one's quite sure what happened this day, but one day while fitting a wedding dress, this 1 metre high snake toppled and broke, splashing red wine all over the train of the wedding dress. You can only imagine how the poor bride felt. She says to Mum, "What are we going to do now?" Mum poured the last remaining mouthful in the base of the snake bottle into her nearby teacup and promptly downed it. Grandkids were everything to Elvie. She was the epitome of a grandmother. She loved them all equally, and none of them could ever do any wrong in her eyes. She sewed for them, cooked for and with them, babysat them for fun or to assist my sisters and I to go to work. She loved to play Uno and Monopoly, among other things, with them. I recall my own daughters wanting to stay for impromptu sleepovers. Mum would nick into the sewing room and whip up little nighties for them to enable them to stay the night. She was proud of them all and boasted to anyone that would listen of her grandchildren's achievements. In 1994, Elvie moved from Broome Street to a smaller home in Coates Road, not far down the road and close to where she had spent her holidays in Lakes. For the first time in her life, she had an inside loo, but no combustion stove. Learning to cook on an electric stove was a challenge and resulted in lots of blackened pots. It took her a while to adjust to just leaving it in the corner to simmer. Here she continued to sew and enjoy time with her family. She never really enjoyed going out, but loved to have visitors, family and sewing customers at home. Once Mum reached about 80 years of age, there were increasing concerns for her safety and well-being, and following a short hospital stay, she very reluctantly went into care at Lakeview in 2016. Initially objecting, those responsible were the worst daughters in the world and she just wanted to go home. Over the passage of time, she came to accept it as her home and eventually became content there. She came to know and love the staff there, and they too experienced her sense of humour. We thank them for the care and friendship they gave to Mum in her twilight years. We'd also like to thank the staff on Tambo Ward at Bensa Hospital who cared for Mum and guided us with compassion in her last few days. Reunited with Dad.
Thank you, Jean. I know she spent a lot of time putting that together with the help of family, and yeah, it really certainly gave us a great snapshot of Elvie's life and of the many things that made her, as I mentioned earlier, very special and unique. Michelle's nodding. She was going to have a tribute. Would you like me to share it for you? No? Okay, that's fine. There's obviously we're going to back to see some photos, which will be a lovely way to reminisce on Elvie's life, but also another way to reminisce is to join the family here for refreshments when we finish today. That's a lovely chance to continue sharing memories and stories in a less formal setting. We will be leaving here to head up to the Lakes Entrance Cemetery, where we will formally conclude this celebration of Elvie's life, and then back down here for refreshments. So those of you who are able to, I know that Elvie's family greatly warmly invite you to join them back here for a cuppa and a chat later. So now our first visual presentation is of Elvie's life and her family and friends, so please enjoy this trip down memory lane.
I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. I believe that somewhere in the darkest night a candle glows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, someone will come to show the way. I believe above the storm the smallest prayer will still be heard. I believe that someone in the great somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I believe. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky,
just went to come and see what you had done, Mama. Oh, Mama. And who's the one who patched your eye and told you not to cry, 'cause he was too big for you to try, Mama? Mama. And who's the one you didn't need to plead to give her time to the Little League? It was Mama. Oh, Mama. And who's the one who gave a shoulder when you told her your first love was over? She'd met someone older, Mama. Mama. It was Mama. My Mama. Mama. Oh, Mama. Who's the one who taught you obligation, then dedication, result, graduation, Mama? Mama. And who's the one who's shown the friends you've known a home away from home when they were tired and all alone, Mama? Mama. And who's the one who held a tear inside when you introduced your future bride? And who's the one who didn't mean to cry as you walked down the aisle through tears? You saw her smile, Mama. Oh, Mama. Mama. My Mama. It was Mama.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why beyond the rainbow. Why, oh, why can't
Some very happy times there shared with special family and friends. Well, as we've heard, sewing and dressmaking was one of Elvie's greatest passions. She was meticulous and her dresses were appreciated and loved by so many over the years. She was known in town as Mrs. Williams the dressmaker. Elvie's girls were so proud of their mum's sewing ability, and they share with me many stories of the amazing dresses and the clothes that she made. The dresses on the mannequins here today are some of her finest work. Elvie's wedding dress is to my right, or to your left, and Janine's wedding dress is this one here on my left, and it was one of the favourites with its intricate beading and detail. It's just beautiful. I have a short poem to share before we view our next video presentation, which is of Elvie's garments, and this is titled Dressmaker, and I share on behalf of Elvie's family. Our mother was a dressmaker and a talented one too. She could whip up a dress in no time. It was amazing what she could do. Constructing, altering and repairing, she has dressed many here today. With her precision and her commitment, she would sew all night and day. Our mother was a dressmaker, one of the best, it has to be said. She could turn her hand to anything as long as she had a needle and thread. Buttons, zips and material all waiting to be created into special dresses or garments that were loved and appreciated. Now her sewing days are over and finally she can rest. Her dresses are the legacy of someone who gave her best. So I now invite you all to take a trip down memory lane of some of Elvie's finest work with a presentation of some special garments. Please enjoy.
Back through the years I go wandering once again, back to the seasons of my youth. I recall a box of rags that someone gave us, and how my mama put the rags to use. There were rags of many colors, but every piece was small, and I didn't have a coat, and it was away down in the fall. Mama sewed the rags together, so in every piece with love she made my coat of many colors that I was so proud of. As she sewed, she told a story from the Bible she had read about a coat of many colors Joseph wore, and then she said, perhaps this coat will bring you good luck and happiness. And I just couldn't wait to wear it, and Mama blessed it with a kiss. My coat of many colors that my mama made for me, made only from rags, but I wore it so proudly. Although we had no money, I was rich as I could be in my coat of many colors my mama made for me. So with patches on my breeches and holes in both my shoes, in my coat of many colors I hurried off to school, just to find the others laughing and making fun of me in my coat of many colors my mama made for me. And oh, I couldn't understand it, for I felt I was rich, and I told them all the love my mama sewed in every stitch. And I told them all the story Mama told me while she sewed, and how my coat of many colors was worth more than all their clothes. But they didn't understand it, and I tried to make them see that one is only poor only if they choose to be. Now I know we had no money, but I was rich as I could be in my coat of many colors my mama made for me, made just for me.
I don't want your lonely mansion with a tear in every room. All I want's the love you promised beneath the haloed moon. But you think I should be happy with your money and your name, and hide myself in sorrow while you play your cheating game. Silver threads and golden needles cannot mend this heart of mine, and I dare not drown my sorrow in the warm glow of your wine. But you think I should be happy with your money and your name, and hide myself in sorrow while you play your cheating game. Silver threads and golden needles cannot mend this heart of mine, and I dare not drown my sorrow in the warm glow of your wine. You can't buy my love with money, for I never was that kind. Silver threads and golden needles cannot mend this heart of mine. Silver threads and golden needles cannot mend this heart of mine.
Well, I must admit, when Elvie's girls told me that they were going to do a second photo presentation and they chose 2 songs, I thought surely there's not enough photos of dresses, but there was certainly, and that was just the tip of the iceberg. So some amazing outfits and garments, and a lovely trip down memory lane of how clever Elvie was. Well, there's a poem on the inside of your order of service. This poem I would like to share on behalf of Elvie's family. The words sum up how they feel about her Alzheimer's and of their wish for today to remember the happy times. You didn't leave just recently, you went some time ago, although your body stayed a while and didn't really know. For you had got Alzheimer's you failed to comprehend. Your body went on living, but your mind had reached its end. So we've already said goodbye to the person that we know, the person that we truly loved, the person that was you. And so we meet again today to toast your body's end, for it was true and faithful until right at the end. And so when we remember, we'll think of all the rest, we'll concentrate on earlier and remember all the best. For in the real scheme of things, your illness wasn't long compared to all the happiness you brought your whole life long. We think of you as yesterday when you were fit and well, and when we're asked about you, it's those things that we'll tell. And so we meet in remembrance of a mind so fit and true. We're here to pay our last respects, to say that we love you. Well, today's service has been a meaningful way to pay tribute to Elvie, and the memories and the stories and the photos shared make up just a small part of the sort of person she was to you all. Each of you here will remember the good times you spent with Elvie, the things that you have learned from her and the memories that you now have to keep close to your heart. While we are united in our sadness at her passing, we are warmed and comforted by our memories and of the impact that Elvie has had in your lives. Time stands still for just a moment as we acknowledge that Elvie has touched your lives and she has left an imprint in your hearts and in your minds. Her passing has left a void, but I hope it gives you some comfort knowing how much happiness you have each given her and of how much she appreciated and dearly loved you all. As some people journey through life, they leave footprints wherever they go, footprints of kindness and love, of inspiration and joy. Even though Elvie has gone, we can still look back and clearly see the footprints she has left behind, and we will remember that her life was one of value and purpose, and it was filled with lots of love. Well, today we have been remembering Elvie's life, and one that has ended. Let us return to our own lives, enriched by our memories, and inspired to live a purposeful and happy life. We know that Elvie would have wanted that for you all. Elvie was never one to be in the spotlight, but today has certainly been her day to be remembered fondly and most proudly, and I'm sure if she could, she would thank you each for being such an important part of her life. Thank you again for being here today, ladies and gentlemen.
Through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver sound of the bird. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain. Oh, your dreams be timeless and walk on with hope in your heart, and you
Now sharp turn around, feet out this way. You want a bit of a Yui? Alright, lift it. Through there, that's really good. Right through. Right go. Oh, a little bump down there. Double take the weight there.
batteries in the microphone. Yep. Huh? Well, it's, I would have hoped that that piece is checked. But anyway, it is what it is. I don't even know. Oh. Can I have our bag?
Yep.
Oh, there's Jeff's.
He'll come back from.
Do we know where the mark is?
No. Yeah.
Yep. What do you want me to take?
Yeah, just do that.
Thank you, guys. You're welcome. See ya. Bye. That's okay.
I take chairs around each table, so.